So with RAM prices being ridiculous right now, DDR5 unobtainable, DDR4 hard to get for a decent price, and DDR3 even going up on places like eBay, there's been some look at how to do more budget friendly without breaking, obviously without breaking the bank, but still getting performance. Now, technically, you can't use DDR3 on Windows 11, but there are other methods and there are workarounds. There are ways to do it, and also Linux versions that do very well with DDR3. Now, stepping back to those processors, 6000 generation, the i5s and i7s of, like the 6500, 6700 and all that, those are the last ones to actually use DDR3 like that. I do have a 6500. However, it's in an Optiplex, and it's very difficult to upgrade or use. The next best thing is to drop back to the 4th gen, the Haswell. I do have one of those, but I don't have a good one, 4770 or 4790. A lot of people are finding that 4790 is a real, that's a real work of art, and it does a great job. But to step back into my southern roots for a moment, I ain't got one of those. I do have a 1270 version 3, though, and so that's what we're going to be looking at now. Okay, for those in the room that are unfamiliar, the E3-1270 V3 was a Xeon processor that came out a little bit before the 4790. It is a little bit slower. I think it's 100 megahertz slower on the clock speed. Another disadvantage is it does not have onboard video, whereas the Haswells, 4770 and 4790 did. Now, this is still built on the same architecture, or very close to the same architecture, and still fits in, say, a B85 motherboard, which is in that case back there. Some of you may recognize that. That is traffic cone. It used to have bright orange LED fans. We took those out because, well, we're going to do some other things with this box too. Going back and looking at some of these, I didn't run a full slate of tests, but what I did is I wanted to see some of the newer games if they would run. Some mixed results here, but overall, if you manage your expectations, it's okay. Now I'm working with the GTX 1070. I might also step that up to, say, an RX 66. I believe I have an XT, an RX 66 XT, which is PCIe 4, but that's okay. We might not be losing a lot of performance. That still is PCIe 3 in the box. And if you're not familiar with that, PCIe 4 is double the bandwidth. So that means that data is going to move twice as fast, or be able to move twice as much data in the same amount of time, basically twice as fast, as the older version. But I don't think we're going to be losing a whole lot because the thing that's going to hold us back is the Xeon processor in the first place. I did run a couple of these games through. Most of them performed fairly well. I think if I managed my expectations, I ran them through on like 1080p high, had some pretty good results. There were a few caveats. One of them being that games that require you to use Secure Boot are going to struggle, mainly because TPM 2.0 is an issue. Now, on Reddit and a few other forums, I have seen where people have had success running games like Valorant and some other stuff with one of those modules, a TPM 2.0 module. And so I believe that's one of the steps if we're going to upgrade this PC that we need to do in order for it to play more modern games. Black Ops 7, I could not run Black Ops 7 with that because it did give me the warning that I needed a TPM 2.0. So that's what we'll do. In other games, it ran pretty well. It ran fairly smooth, if not, around 30 to 40 frames per second most of the time on 1080p high. Part of that, I'm sure, has to do with the 1070. Part of that is going to be just the processor itself in some games. And I did find that out that when I was playing Expedition 33, and I thought I had video, and I apologize that I don't. When I was playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33, it played well. It ran well, about 44 frames per second, no problems at all. But it took a very, very long time in between loading screens. Monster Hunter Wilds also took a very long time to build the shaders, but it ran. And which is a little bit of a surprise because I've tried to do this before where it did not run. It didn't even start up. So we were successful there as well. So I'm pretty happy that we were able to get some of these tests. Marvel Rivals, another one that worked out well. Again, long time with the loading screen. So I'm sure that CPU has some issues. That, and I'm only running 16 gig of DDR3. So this will be the first time that we have starting to try some of these. And yes, those games do run. And yes, it is still on Windows 10. But we're going to try a couple of workarounds, and we're going to use this. And it might not be a video back to back to back, but over the next couple months, you'll see this box again. We've already swapped out the fans. We're going to see this because I'm going to get a TPM 2.0 module to see if we can run Black Ops 7. We're going to swap out the video card. We're going to put more memory in it, and it's running at 1600 right now, so maybe I can bump that up to 1833, max that out at, say, 32 gig, and just see if we can't beef this thing up a little bit, see what we can get out of it. Now, it's not going to be the prime time, on this channel right now, but it's a little experiment. It's working in the background, and that's what we got. So if you want to see what happens to this PC and if we can squeeze all the lemonade out of this thing, make sure you subscribe, tune in, check it out or whatever. These boxes, even though this does not have onboard graphics, this 1270 is going to be very, very similar performance to a 4770 or 4790. And it really surprised me by how easily it ran some of these games. And I think with a little bit of tweaking, we can probably run these games very, very well. So stay tuned. We're going to do that. We'll see what happens. Obviously, that's one thing I'm getting into. I still got the HP. Well, you can see the HP still behind it. I think I'm about done with that HP. I've already run some other tests. I went back and refreshed a couple of games just to keep my benchmarks up with the RTX 3050. And and obviously you see the control over there on top of my server. But that is all I got this time. I just want to let you guys know what I was working on and the new project I started. Obviously, step one is to undo a few things that have been done and get a baseline for where we're at, and then we'll start going from there. No benchmarks, no numbers this time, but as we start to move up the stack, we'll add those in, so stay tuned. Anyway, that is all I have for right now. If you got anything out of the video at all, go ahead and throw a like on it if you don't mind. If you're not already subscribed, please do, especially if you want to see what happens to this old junker back here and see what we can do to it. And if we can maybe, just maybe, we can run this thing against that 6500 that's in the Optiplex, see which one's better. Got a feeling we can do something with this one to make it a little bit better. But we'll have to stay tuned and find out. Anyway, if you don't do any of those things, if you don't like, subscribe, or hit up the socials maybe or something like that, I ask you just do me one favor. And that's be good to each other. Smile, wave, hold the door open, good morning, something, just anything. You might find that the person's day that you make when you do that is your own. Anyway, that is all I got. So until I get myself into something I got no business getting into, and it's over there, and there's a bunch of stuff over there too. Yeah, anyway, that's all I got for now, so I'll see you later.